there's this fear of like getting caught and getting sent home because, I mean, yes, 11 kids in a room is nowhere near okay, but especially because it was so early in, like some people still hadn't moved in yet and 11 kids were already sent home.
With the United States currently facing the largest COVID-19 case and death count in the world, higher education institutions have been forced to decide how they plan to operate amidst an out-of-control pandemic. Most schools have switched to distance learning, and some that have reopened have faced disastrous results, often within a week of reopening.
Tonight at UNC Chapel Hill, the party is over after scenes like these and 135 new COVID cases.
Hundreds were seen partying together, it appeared.
Northeastern University has gone all in on reopening campus using a hybrid plan, with students on campus subject to strict and punitive social distancing guidelines, along with a robust testing system, which students are required to engage in every 3 days. While no outbreak has appeared on campus yet, the question of whether or not it was wise to reopen goes beyond simple disease prevention. Northeastern has a program called NUN, where enrolled students spend their first semester abroad in countries like Italy, Spain, and France. This year, however, Northeastern was forced to change its NUN program dramatically. With international travel near impossible for those without citizenship in their destination countries, all 818 NUN students were placed in the Westin Hotel in Copley Square, roughly a mile from campus, in a program the university calls NUN Boston.
I was always supposed to go to London, and they canceled London. They canceled London pretty late. It was the last one. It was July. Like, we had already bought our plane tickets. And they gave us a week to decide whether we wanted to take a gap year, do NU start at home, or go to Boston. And once I found out that a lot of the NUN classes would be in person, I was like, I can't sit at home. Like, I couldn't sit at home for another year waiting. Like,
I think I was eager. I don't know. I mean, I had just been in my house for 5 months or 6 months. So it was appealing to kind of, get the idea that, like, I could have somewhat of a semblance of, like, a normal college experience.
As with all students living in university housing, strict rules have been put in place to prevent an outbreak. However, these students have additional regulations provided by the Westin that make their experience more controlled.
I mean, I like my nice bed, I like my AC, I like my own bathroom, but you have 800 kids and then other guests and 7 elevators, 4 at a time.
Like, you're in your room or you need to be, like, leaving. There's not really any common spaces. It's kind of frustrating because the administration was saying, well, we have this, they keep touting the fact that we have the Westin Club. But when you have a space that has a capacity of 16 people, and then you have a student body of 800, it's not really a realistic space.
I think they're doing a good job with making sure everyone's staying safe, whatever. It's just the problems that come with that, like the elevators. Yesterday, there was a huge problem. So the elevators are 4 at a time. Like, I waited an hour for an elevator yesterday.
There are stairs, but there's not, like, clear instruction about whether we can use them or not. Like, some people have reported getting in trouble by ICs for using the stairs, where, like, I haven't received anything formally, any email, and my AC has never told me anything about this. But the problem that creates is then you have people waiting in the lobbies of the elevators, which aren't huge, for 10, 20, 30 minutes. When we have explicit, like, email things saying, if you are, like, congregating in elevator lobbies is not acceptable.
Yesterday, when I was waiting for an hour, I would have taken the stairs, but the IC on my floor was literally just sitting there watching us. Like, he was also waiting for one too to do his laundry, but like, you're like, we can't take the elevator, he's right there.
And people don't really trust that they're going to be, like, listened to and believed necessarily. So there's all sorts of instances where the laundry room's another one where the capacity is 3, but there's often, like, many people in there. So you kind of have to just decide, am I going to go in there and then hope an IC doesn't walk in?
The other night it was raining. We were sitting in a hallway and talking, and the ICs were, like, getting mad at us for being in a hallway, but we couldn't go outside.
With the Westin being a long walk from campus, getting food has become a hassle for the students in NUN. After waiting up to an hour for the elevator, students must walk about 25 minutes to the closest dining hall, International Village, and an additional 10 minutes to the other dining halls like Stetson East. The lines are often incredibly long, and students end up sitting outside to eat where it is very difficult to social distance.
Like, from the Westin to Ivy, it's 1.3 miles, and you have to wait in line. And then you either have to carry it, there's no microwaves here, so it's like you have to eat it there. They did give us unlimited Charlie cards for the whole semester, which is very nice. But, like, now that more people are moving in, the lines are getting really long because it's like, yeah, they're trying to social distance, but when you have 100 people in a line, what are you accomplishing?
There are definitely some Westin specific rules. Like we're not supposed to be on like congregate or hang out on the first or second lobbies, which is confusing because if you were to be here on move-in and the days following, you see groups of ICs standing together, like waiting for students, and you see big groups of students leaving because I mean, if you look at the Northeastern thing, they say we recommend you limit your social groups to like a small group, but when you don't know anyone, that's hard to do.
The situation became more tense when 11 students from the NUN program were suspended from the university for the entire fall semester after breaking some of the clearer guidelines by gathering in one hotel room. Students who were dismissed will not be receiving refunds for the $36,500 tuition for their program.
Effective immediately, you are hereby dismissed from the NUN program on an interim basis and banned from all university property, including the Westin, all residence halls, classroom buildings, labs, dining halls, administrative offices, pending the final resolution of this matter. It's like everything you do, there's this fear of like getting caught and getting sent home because, I mean, yes, 11 kids in a room is nowhere near okay, but especially because it was so early in, like some people still hadn't moved in yet and 11 kids were already sent home.
We all signed something that says that's what we agreed to. Like in that situation, it was very much, like you guys went in here, you went in a room and like there's no leeway around that. Like that was a rule. That's not like something where you're, waiting for elevators where it can be seen as a misunderstanding. I think I didn't think about like how harsh of it, even though I had signed something saying I like agreed to this, I didn't think about how harsh that actually is.
It's one of the things that's a part of their punishment is that they're paying the full NUN tuition and they're not being allowed to take class. Like that, I think is wrong.
It doesn't encourage students as much to like work with ICs. Like for example, like the other day I was doing laundry and there were like, I touched on this and there were like 20 people in the laundry room. The capacity is like 3, even though it's really big and there's a bunch of machines. And so I'm like, I don't really want to go in there because I don't want an IC to walk in at the wrong time and get in trouble. But then also if I were to go to an IC, I think, if it was just like, oh, they'll get a warning and something like that, then I'd be like, oh, of course, I'll just go to the IC and like have them clear out, that way I can be in here. But because it feels like the penalties are so high, I think it kind of discourages students from saying anything because it's, even though it's not like technically on you if they get suspended, like they broke the rules, it still feels like your responsibility. And that's like, you're kind of ruining someone's life. And that doesn't seem like a fair thing to ask of people.
They keep using this term written up. And I know someone who did get written up. She's actually been twice. One was for having 5 in an elevator and one was for like sitting in a circle in a hallway, like very all with masks on, all socially distanced.
Like all the guidelines, if they sound like solid, but then once you come and you're trying to live, like with the 6 feet one's the most problematic and like gatherings is the most confusing. Then it's like, oh, these guidelines that sounded so clear just aren't anymore. And I think a really good example of this is like it must have been the day that they were released or the next day, the students, we had a town hall with, I think like Vice Chancellor Estabrook and some other person, which was really kind of upsetting. They cut off questions after half an hour and a lot of some of the questions they answered were just not, I don't know who was asking them, but like they were not what people I've been talking about. Like they were answering questions about like testing capacity. That's not what we're worried about.
They're just literally reading the same things they send every day. And they're like, if you have questions, ask us. And we were trying to ask questions and they were just dodging them.
It feels like nobody really knows where the line is. So everyone's just kind of tiptoeing around it, hoping, just trying not to get in trouble. Since
those kids got sent home, everyone's kind of like on edge. Like, oh no, if I'm like in an elevator with more than 4 people, am I going to get written up? Or am I going to, if I take the stairs, am I going to get written up if there's too many people in the laundry,
As of September 10th, parents of 2 of the suspended students hired lawyer Brett Joshby to defend their children. They argue that the university overreacted with suspending the students and went so far as to call the university educational tyrants. However, validity of the case is debated as students had to sign many contracts agreeing to the university's COVID-19 guidelines, and students received emails warning them that if they hosted or attended a gathering, they would face suspension.
I honestly don't know if it was responsible to open, or maybe especially to freshmen. And I say just freshmen because like the way that socializing works with freshmen, like it's not like where you come to campus, you have a few close friends, so you're kind of staying within a circle, like in a bubble. I think that the way that the policy is set up right now is they have really strict guidelines that are hard to follow, and ambiguous, which basically means that, it makes it really easy to just blame individual students for any problems that arise.
Everything you do, there's this fear of like getting caught and getting sent home.
And I know that they spent a bunch of time, like way more than other schools, like finding ways to work, and like the testing's amazing. That's great. Like I don't think anywhere else has been able to do that, and I totally appreciate that. But just as educators, I think that the other needs of students, at least with this program, and I don't know if they've been like realistically addressed.
While it's understandable that the university would like to do everything in its power to prevent an outbreak from occurring, the confusion and the ensuing stress on the NUN students has made their freshman year more difficult in many ways, whether it be making friends, getting food, or even just using an elevator. As the program unfolds, hopefully instructions will be made more clear so that students can learn amidst the pandemic. I'm Ilana Gersten with NUTV News. Thank you for watching.